There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if you want.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another one, and as always, I'm your host, Anthony Merchant here, and I am here alone today. I'm going solo. This is our May rundown of the podcast here, going through the music of the month, playing you some stuff, talking about new music, and just what's been going on in Power Chord Hour world and everything else. I had a lot of fun this week. I got to give a shout out, I guess, right away, which actually we talked about on the last rundown. I was talking about how I was going to be on the podcast Let's Chat, and I have now. Now we're at the end of another month, and I was just on Let's Chat Live with Chris Revel, and just want to thank him for having me on. And I did it with Jay Rover, which he did or does Quarantunes, which I was also a guest on back in December. So very cool. Two people who have had me on, and I had a blast with both of them. We talked about, naturally, now Jay Rover, if you don't know, and I have talked about him on here and what he does and everything, but like New Jersey pop punk, he's a part of that whole scene, from like the late 90s, early 2000s. And does the Quarantunes, was in the band Red Rover, and just really good dude, and always have fun talking to him. And same with Chris. Chris is a guy who I had heard of his podcast and everything before Quarantunes, but then kind of got to know him through there. And funny enough too, kind of became a fan of his stuff. He's had really cool. You should go check out his podcast. Let's Chat with Chris Revel. He has, a bunch of different people. Like he had Chris Gethard, was like his latest guest, and he's had all the greats, Chris Gethard and myself. So, all the greats. But yeah, Chris Gethard recently, much bigger get, I would say, than Anthony Merchant. But yeah, him. One that I really liked, Matt Pryor of the Get Up Kids. That was the first episode I listened to of his. But a bunch of them, he talks like musicians, filmmakers and stuff. So it's kind of cool because he does, he'll talk to musicians and stuff like we do here, but he also does a bunch of different stuff. So you'll hear him talk to a bunch of people you'd never hear me talk to or would even think to hit up to interview. And yeah, he does some cool stuff. So I had fun. We talked about New Jersey pop punk, and we talked about tons of other stuff. Pete and Pete came up. I forget how it even came up, actually. I think soundtracks. Oh, that's how we were talking. It's funny how I go, I don't know, and then all of a sudden it hits me. It just comes back all of a sudden. We were talking about soundtracks. We were talking about the singles soundtrack, and then just soundtracks in general, kind of going from there, and just bringing up how which if you don't know this, I need to bring it up now so you know. But the soundtrack to The Adventures of Pete and Pete that Polaris did, which is a fictional band made up for the show The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Though it is a fictional band, it is made up of the non-fictional band Miracle Legion. I believe every member, I think it was literally every member of Miracle Legion just under the name Polaris. But they wrote all the music for Pete and Pete, and the soundtrack is a 14-song album from them. And even though it is the soundtrack to The Adventures of Pete and Pete, it is, I'm not even lying, one of the greatest, you want to talk 90s indie rock, alt rock, whatever, just really, really amazing stuff. It's the greatest out there. It's better than most of the bands of that era who were real touring bands, not fictional bands for a Nickelodeon kids show. But yeah, Mark Malacky, amazing songwriter. And yeah, Polaris, if you've never heard that soundtrack, go check it out. They did repress it last year, I think, for Record Store Day. And they did it back in 2015 because I grabbed it on vinyl when they did it for Record Store Day that year. So they've released it a few times, but I'm telling you, legitimately one of the great, it is the greatest soundtrack of all time. If you ask me what my favorite soundtrack is, got to go with that. And I'm not kidding, 90s alt rock, indie rock, kind of in the vein of REM, a little bit of the Replacements. I mean, Miracle Legion is a big one, obviously, if you know the band Miracle Legion, since it is them. It very much has a Miracle Legion vibe, but both of those, that and The Adventures of Pete and Pete too, I was talking about it on there, but like, I'm not, as far as music goes, I'm probably more of a nostalgic person. Not even probably, I'll definitely say I am, but like, as far as nostalgia goes for like movies and TV and stuff, I don't know, like I'm 28 and I feel like there's so many people, and it's not really a dig on people who do, but like so many people my age who will go back and like watch Disney movies or like still watch SpongeBob or Pokemon or like something like that, just very, I mean, nostalgia really. I mean, going back to, being a kid again. And like, I get what it is and I can appreciate it, but I've never, like, I can't watch something for the sake of nostalgia because really quickly, I remember doing that with the show Cat Dog when I was like 22, I think. I was like something like that. I was like early 20s and I was like randomly just looking for shit to watch one night. So I threw on Cat Dog and like I don't even know, about 5 minutes in. I'd say 30 seconds after the theme song was over, all of a sudden I kind of realized, went like, oh yeah, like this was, I could see the appeal when I was 7 years old, but it's like as a 21-year-old, like I don't think I can sit here and watch a whole episode of Cat Dog. And I'm very much that way with things like that, like movies and TV and stuff. Like, I mean, I get it if you have kids and it's like you throw it on, it kind of brings you down memory lane, but it's like as far as me just picking something to watch, like of my own choice, it's like, yeah, you're not going to see me watch many things that I would have been watching as a child. But The Adventures of Pete and Pete has aged amazing, and I would argue is a better show now in my 20s than it was as a kid, which I mean, I think makes sense because really that show, I think, and we also talked about this a little bit, but we didn't talk too much about it. And now I'm going to bring it up on here, even though we talk music. I'm going down the Pete and Pete rabbit hole again on the second podcast this week. I got to talk about Pete and Pete, which I have tried getting. It was years ago. I should try again, but I hit up Danny Tamborelli to come on here when they were doing a tour for their podcast that he does with Michael Morona, Morona, I believe. I hope I'm not butchering his last name. But Big Pete, both the Petes do a podcast. Really good stuff. The Adventures of Danny and Mike. But I hit him up once when they were touring and just kind of like, they were coming around here. I think they were like playing Buffalo. And I was like, hey, like we should come on. And like, he has a band and also, he's just into, I mean, some great music and surrounded by amazing musicians on Pete and Pete. So like, I would love to talk about that aspect of that with them. But sadly, never heard anything back. But, I would love to have them on and talk music with Pete and Pete. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying on the podcast on Let's Chat Live was like, I think with that show, I think in a way it helped that it was on Nickelodeon, but I think not, like it probably helped back in the day because, obviously Nickelodeon's huge and that's a big platform. But I think current day, I don't think it helps that it was on Nickelodeon because people who don't, like Jay really wasn't that familiar with it. Like he'd heard of it, but he'd never really watched it. So like his perception was that Nickelodeon show from the 90s, which I mean is a kid, you know what I mean? That you would take that as a kid show, a kid show from the 90s. But like it's so much more than that. It's so much more mature and like, like just not a kid's show in a lot of ways, not like it had dirty jokes or anything. It was just more complex for a kid's show. And it's like, I really think if it wasn't, if it wasn't like released on a Nickelodeon back in the day and now, now being marketed that way and everything, I think it may have a better life afterwards. Cause I think there's still a huge cult following for, people around my age and older who remember it when it was on, but I don't know how big it's gotten like from people who weren't around back in the day. You know what I mean? One of those things where it's like, I don't know if they've caught on in the same way. Kind of like with Miracle Legion, really. I mean, I actually have another kind of analogy of that. Miracle Legion's another one who that band should be as big as REM or, any of the other college rock bands. But, I would say for the most part, the people who know about them were the people who were there. I mean, you have exceptions. Obviously, I did. I didn't actually, funny enough, like I was talking about Danny and Mike's podcast, that's how I discovered, like I knew of Polaris, but like I didn't realize the whole like I knew Polaris was a fictional band made up for Pete and Pete, but like I'd never heard Miracle Legion and stuff. And then they played like The Backyard on there, and still my favorite Miracle Legion song, and was hooked. But yeah, talked about Pete and Pete, New Jersey pop punk, a bunch of other things. I had a lot of fun. We did like an hour and a half, but I don't know. He does a couple different things. If you want to go check them out, and you really should. I had a great time on the show. And Chris is a good dude too. I mean, like I talked on the phone with him back in like January. So at the beginning of this year, and we just bullshit for like, I think like 2 hours, like just about just anything and everything. And, I mean, this one was kind of like that. It was kind of like just talking to my two buddies, talking to him and Jay. It was very laid back and just very much a conversation more than a interview, which I got to say, I mean, and it's weird for me to be interviewed because like I'm very much in like interviewer mode. So it's like I think I still ask questions during it. I would have to go back and like listen to it or watch it. But and it is on their YouTube page. That's what I was getting at, is I think it may be released later on as a podcast. But if you want to watch it now or listen to it, it is on their YouTube page, Let's Chat Live. Or no, I'm sorry, I believe just Let's Chat. So just go look up Let's Chat Podcast on YouTube, and you'll find my episode there and a bunch of other ones. And yeah, like I said, check them out. Chris is a good dude. And they do a bunch of different other things there. Like I said, there's the regular Let's Chat podcast. They do Let's Chat Live, which I was on. But yeah, I think it may be getting released later on as a podcast. Not sure, but at least go watch that video. It is on their YouTube page now. And, go give them a follow and stuff. They're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everything. And same with Jay. Go look up the NJPP Facebook group on Facebook. And if you couldn't figure out where it was when I said the NJPP Facebook group, it's on Facebook. Go give them a follow and everything, and just go discover all these amazing bands and stuff. And that's the other thing too, is I loved it. Is if you're a fan of like the New Jersey pop punk stuff that I talk about on here, and like all those people that I've had on, definitely go listen to that interview on Let's Chat, because me and Chris were also listening to Jay for a lot of it. Just like both of us just like fawning over hearing about someone who was there firsthand, and just talking about, which it's been brought up on here, talking to like Christian Lesperance and stuff, and Heath and Rob from Midtown, and just everyone else from New Jersey. And I've interviewed so many people from there at this point, but like all of them tell you this, and like the biggest thing that still blows my mind is local shows that had like 1,000 people at them, and then there'd be like 3 or 4 shows a weekend. You know what I mean? Like there would be multiple shows to choose from, and every show would be sold out. And if not sold out, would be like hundreds and hundreds of kids there. Like that's insane. You know what I mean? Like, and we were talking to Jay about that, how it almost feels like the norm until you go other places. Cause it's like, if that's all you just think everywhere, 1,000 people show up and see your local band. Like, no, there's so many scenes where like you're lucky to get 10 people there, So I think such an amazing scene, and I'm very happy to have been, like with Jay and everything, just being really cool with accepting. Same with Chris. Chris is a dude like me who, wasn't old enough to be there back in the day, but like, is getting into them later on. And again, like us, like learning about things, because that whole scene really missed the social media era by a few years. So it's like it's not well documented. But like, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I take that back. It is being well documented now. It wasn't well documented before because there just wasn't a big social media or internet presence left. But now with the Facebook group and doing the quarantunes and these podcasts, and I'm not the only one who interviews these bands, obviously, and then you have things like This Was the Scene, where it's like the whole thing is interviews with people from that whole scene, and now it's being very well documented. I think it's awesome because, yeah, again, it's like that's such a special scene that like they could have, that local bands were shown that much love and support. And then after too, it's like you could look at modern pop music now, and you could do like the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon with like 6 Degrees of New Jersey pop punk. Like somehow, whether it's like Jack Antonoff, You know what I mean? Like being from there and, you know, co-writing and co-producing things now. It's like you have things like that. You have all these other guys who like are now, you know, these, you know, are once like members of these obscure bands who like maybe had like one record on Drive Thru or something and now are like acclaimed producers, you know, like just all these things like that where it's like now they're in modern music, but like originally they were just, you know, they were playing those shows on a Saturday night at like the Wayne Firehouse, you know. But yeah, go check that out. We talked about all this stuff and more. But yeah, really, really fun. Thanks to Chris and Jay for having that conversation. I could have went hours more too. That was the other thing, and I always like that. And I always hope people have that same feeling on here because like, even as a guest there, I'm like, the 90 minutes went by so fast and I could have just kept doing it. And hopefully when I have guests on here, it goes by fast and it doesn't feel like, you know, an hour and a half. I know they normally don't. Like last week's, the top 5 Alkaline Trio songs that I did with Zach and Kyle, which if you haven't checked out yet, go check out. I've been told that it's a good episode, and I'll take people's words for it. I'm not going to listen to it because you know, I just don't really listen to this here podcast. I don't care too much to listen to myself, but I've been hearing good things that people enjoy it. And funny enough, a couple hours before recording this, so I put a picture up. If you're not following us on Instagram, at Power Chord Hour on Instagram, follow us there. I would say it's the best place, like best social media wise, it's our best one. I feel like I post the most on there. We have the most interaction. You know, I always have a really good time on there. So I'd say, I mean, follow us everywhere, but that would be like the best place I would say to follow us. But I posted a picture like 5 years ago when I was in Los Angeles. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but there's these really cool like prints or poster. I don't really know the correct term, but they're called Vegan Club. And it's like, you know, different musicians or like celebrities, you know, who are vegan and just looked really cool. Kind of had the Fight Club font. I mean, if you Google this right now, Vegan Club, a bunch of them will come up. They have, you know, like Travis Barker, Toby Morse from H2O, tons of others, Matt Skiba being one of them. And I took a selfie in front of that with my Suicidal Tendencies parody hat, which is a great Alkaline Trio hat that they sold on Warped Tour in 2010. But I took a selfie in front of that years ago, and I posted it on the Instagram page last week when when the Alkaline Trio episode came out of the podcast. And Vegan Club, the official Vegan Club, who makes those, which are very cool and are still making them and have tons of other people too. I just named like 3, but there's so many others they've done. But anyways, they reposted that on their page, and I was just curious because, I mean, they have like 9,000 followers or something like that. And I was just looking at like people who liked this picture of me because they reposted. I mean, yes, it's a Vegan Club of Matt Skiba, but I'm in front of it. So it's a nice selfie of me with a poster of Matt Skiba. And my boy Moby liked the picture. So yeah, I'm making moves out here, you guys. Moby liked a picture of me in front of a Matt Skiba poster. So hell yeah, or in the great words of Matt Skiba, hell yes. And yeah, so that's my little way of telling you to go listen to that 2-parter, because oh boy was it long. It's like 3.5 hours, but you know, and I'm always conflicted by that. I know I do those 2-parters a lot. Like if Zach and Kyle are on, it's almost always a 2-part episode. But Adobe Audition just won't let me. I probably have to compress it. Like I'm sure if I fucked around with it a little bit, it would probably be okay. But like it will not export like 4 hours of raw audio. So it's like I gotta cut it up anyways to export it. And then I'm just like the other thing too is like I try not to edit them down except for like if I have to. Like there was one part in the Alkaline Trio episode, like the whole thing. The only thing I edited, obviously, we like fade in, so it's like I kind of fade into the conversation. But it's like throughout that whole thing, I only cut one part where I think it was after I hung up on Zach because I couldn't find his number I think it might have been there. And there was like a huge lull. There was just like 30-40 seconds of me trying to like find his number. So like I cut that out. But like besides that, I just leave them. You're just hearing the conversation as it goes. Like, I mean, it's unedited and uncut. And, I know they make for long episodes, but like, and I would like to hear, like, please, this is something I really want to hear from people who are listening. Cause I mean, I want this to be, enjoyable to the people who are listening, but hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. Like for those longer episodes, like, would you rather just a long form, uncut, like, if our conversation, cause that's kind of how I feel. I'm on the fence about it, but I'm like, if we have a 4-hour conversation and there's no lulls in it, and it's like, yeah, we go down rabbit holes, but it's like, hey, it's a conversation, and, we just naturally go these different places. I kind of like to keep it that way, because I go, this is 3 friends talking about a subject, and I feel like, hopefully it's entertaining to listen to, and it's an interesting conversation, that's the whole point. It's conversation. Conversations go different places. Sometimes you get sidetracked, and then you get back on track. And so I tend to leave them that way, which, then makes for 2-parters where, they're pretty long episodes. But like, would you rather that, or would you rather hear one where, say it took us like 3.5 hours to do our top 5 Alkaline Trio songs, if I cut it down to, like a 2.5-hour episode, like I cut like an hour's worth of just basically fodder out, like cut out just nonsense, or if we get repetitive, like and like really, like I'd love to know this. Like hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com, or social media, wherever. Just like I would like to know this. Like, what for you as a listener, which do you prefer? And I've been told they let people like long form, but it's like I think a lot of times too they're talking about long form interviews, or I know that's a long form just conversation about a subject. So yeah, I would like to know, because I mean, if people don't like it, then I would start cutting them down. I mean, if the general consensus was no, cut that shit down, you guys get too sidetracked, then I would definitely do so. So let me know. But yeah, that was a really fun one doing that. I feel, because I like I mentioned 2 episodes ago. But yeah, we didn't have that many episodes in May, just because I took we had a guest cancel one week, and then the following week I had something come up in my family, and it ended up being a just 2-week break that I didn't expect to have. So really pretty short and sweet. We did the top 5 Alkaline Trio songs. We're doing this one right now, and we did last but certainly not least, we had Bobby Vaughn on for the first time in 4 years, since 2017, but he came on and was the first guest of the month, talking about his brand new EP. Very, very good stuff. I've been listening to it a lot and really enjoy it. I loved his stuff with the Promise Hero, and I like the progression, because like I like the Promise Hero, and the early stuff I like too, where it's more kind of a straight up pop punk band. But I think like their best stuff was their record Deja Vu, which you should go back and check out if you never listened to, that they put out on TDR Records. Shout out to Mike Hollins and TDR, which we got to have Mike Hollins on soon. He will probably, I wouldn't be surprised if you hear Mike Hollins on here within like the next 2 months. And yeah, that would not be a bad thing either. I'd love to have him on. I don't know why it's taken this long. 5 years in, there's just certain people where you go, how the hell have I never asked them on or had them on? And he's one of them. But yeah, Deja Vu, which he recorded with Jamie Wolford of The Stereo, who's an amazing producer too, and just an amazing songwriter and musician. But just like that album has this great, like, it's pop rock and pop punk, and it's like, I don't know, I really like it. Like, I feel like if I play The Promise Hero on the radio show, a lot of times that's the album I go with, Deja Vu. I just think it's a really, really good one. Plus, I do have my very first car, my Volvo, a 98, I can't remember, XC, I think, a 1998 XC Volvo, like a hatchback, and a great car. And I say like it's so long ago, really, I've only had 3 cars in my life, but this was my first car, and it had a tape deck and a CD. It did have a CD player too, but it also had a tape deck. And I remember when the Promise Hero put out Deja Vu, they put it out on cassette as well. So I had to order one. And I remember nice sunny days because I got released in the summer. And driving around on a nice summer day, just blasting that shit on cassette with my windows down. So like I feel like there's little things, it's funny because, a minute ago talking about Pete and Pete with the whole nostalgia thing, and like I admit it, I'm more that way with music. And look I'm doing it right now. I'm that way where I'll think back to things like that, like listening to that record on a nice day with my windows down and just driving down the highway, So like, I kind of have memories attached to it in that way. But yeah, I love that record, and the Promise Hero were great, and I love the new Bobby Vaughn EP. And if you haven't checked that one out, or or the Alkaline Trio one, go listen to it wherever you're listening to this right now. You can also find those episodes and all our other ones. I can't believe we're on to episode 65, and yeah, I love it. It's crazy. I feel like episode 100 will be here before you know it. I know on the radio show we're up to, I want to say episode 238 maybe this week. I think it's 238. And it still feels like yesterday was episode 100 when I had Jason Camacho from Audio Karate on. And that was 2018. Like that was so long ago, yet it just feels like, and then funny enough, and then we had Jason Camacho on a second time, and he wasn't on episode 200, but he just missed it by like I think 2 episodes, like something like it was something really. Had I timed it, had it been intentional and I timed it, he would have been back on for episode 200, almost right on the money. But it was not. We'll have to have him back on episode 300. He'll have to be on, or at least episode 100 for the podcast, because he is one of my favorite guests. And it's funny, Audio Karate, being a band who I think has always been hard to label genre-wise. I think if you listen to Space Camp, I think it's a little easier. I think the, because it's just more of a straightforward pop-punk record. Still a great record, but, more straightforward than Lady Melody. But on their Instagram, like a week ago, they put up a thing like they were for a future release, which was a nice hint. I don't know anything else about it, but that always makes me happy to hear new stuff coming from the Audio Karate camp. But that they were making one of those stickers, like the hype stickers where it says for fans of, and they were asking like in their Instagram stories, like, what are 3 bands you would put for, like who do we sound similar to? And like, I never thought of it before, but number one, how difficult it kind of is to make those, like, including, because I see them constantly. Like I'll get emails with like new music sent to me for the radio show. And like all PR releases have, all those press releases have like, for fans of, and then we'll list a few bands. And it's like, I never think anything of it, but it's like, that can be kind of difficult, but like even more so for Audio Karate. And really it's a compliment, but it's like, goddamn, like it's hard to name 3 bands that they really sound like. I ended up saying, if we're talking older bands, like around like their era, like when Audio Karate was coming up, I said Jimmy Eat World, Ataris, though Ataris is more for Space Camp, I would say, than Lady Melody. And then I said At the Drive-In, and I would say At the Drive-In more for Lady Melody than Space Camp. So that's the other thing here. Jimmy Eat World, I feel like there's a little bit on both, though even more on Lady Melody. Whereas Ataris you hear on the first record, and then At the Drive-In I think you hear on the second. And Malo as well. That one I think you hear a little bit of At the Drive-In, and not even a little bit. I say a decent amount, because on the radio show I know I can't remember the exact song, but like a few times I've had a few Audio Karate and At the Drive-In songs that just go so perfect into one another. Like I'll throw them on the playlist like back to back because they just transition so well. But like that more post-hardcore, like heavy side of a Lady Melody, I would say you can kind of hear some At the Drive-In. And yeah, like I don't think you hear Ataris as much on that one. But the Ataris got experimental too. So again, it's like not totally out of there, but it's like all of it just made me think of how difficult it is really to like name 3 bands that they sound like, which is a huge compliment to them, because hey, they don't, that's what made Lady Melody specifically So Goddamn Good is like, it really doesn't sound like anyone at all. But a second ago I was talking about the radio show, and I wanted to jump back to that here for a second and tease here, depending when you're listening to this. But the June 4th episode of the radio show, and the first episode of June, I'm going to be doing an all Drive-Thru Records playlist for the radio show. I'm very excited for this. It is going to be 2 hours of me and an all Drive-Thru Records set. I believe the playlist, I counted, I think I have 30 songs I fit on, which is already an issue, because on that you have 2 hours and even a little less, because we do have a break in between, but it's just like, if I'm not done at midnight, we just fade out and the next program comes on. And, with this one, it's going to be hard because I tried to fit as many songs as I could on, but I know I'm just going to talk a bunch about Drive-Thru. Like, I'm not going to be able to shut the fuck up about Drive-Thru Records. So I already know it's going to be a very difficult situation here to try to fit it all within 2 hours. But I'm very excited to do that episode. So if the time has not passed yet, check it out this week on the Power Chord Hour, the radio show, 10 to midnight Eastern on 107.9 WRFA right here in Jamestown, New York. And you can listen to that anywhere in the world. You can stream the radio station on their website, WRFALP.com. You'll see the big old streaming button. And actually, if you're listening to on an iPhone, we do have a WRFA iPhone app. There's not an Android one, but there's an iPhone one. So if you go download that, you can stream it right off the app as well. But tune into that, because I'm excited for that. I love Drive-Thru Records, my favorite label. And I'm so happy. Those I always look forward to. I always look forward to anyone I interview on here. But anyone who's was in a Drive-Thru Records band or still is, I always love interviewing. And if you haven't heard, my buddy Zach there from last week's Alkaline Trio episode, we did a top 5 Drive-Thru. That was our first. Yeah, that was our first countdown one, I believe. Actually, and funny enough, the top 5 Blink-182 songs I think might have came out before the Drive-Thru Records episode, but we recorded the Drive-Thru one before that. And the top 5 Drive-Thru releases, and me and Zach did that. So if you're a Drive-Thru fan and haven't heard that, go back and listen to that episode. But tune in this Friday, 10 to midnight Eastern, and it's going to be, I mean, the whole thing, like I'm going all the way back to Cousin Oliver and Mother Mania and Last Summer, and then I'm going all the way, to the later stuff like Halifax and Houston Calls and Hello Goodbye and all the other ones. And I mean, obviously the golden era too. You're everything you would expect to hear: the Midtowns, Hidden in Plain Views, Newfound Glories, Finches, Starting Lines, Something Corporates. All those I have on there as well. So Phoenix TX. So yeah, make sure you tune into that if you're a pop punk fan. And I love, I mean, that's the other thing I mentioned, how much I love interviewing Drive-Thru, alum. I was getting some love on our Instagram from some of our past guests, and a great idea. And I think you're going to hear him on the radio show soon, and maybe on here too. Maybe we'll just have him on again to interview him, because he is another one where his episode is still or his interview is one of my favorite interviews I've ever done still. But Joe Rio, the lead singer of Hidden in Plain View, he just kind of mentioned, he's like, hey, if you ever want me to do a guest DJ set or whatever, and do an all Drive-Thru, I think he said, set, let me know. And I already had the playlist and everything ready for this one, and kind of knowing what I want to do and how I want the episode set up. So I wasn't going to have him on this exact one, but I love that idea, and I've never done that, is just guest DJs, have them on the radio, including now that we have 2 hours, do an hour of it. You know what I mean? Do the first or second hour where it's just all right, I just let Joe do it. He can play the songs, he can talk, and I'd probably just have him on as a guest DJ too. We could do all Drive-Thru, but it's if he wants to, I'd let him do whatever he wants. I know he's a big Alkaline Trio fan. I'd let him come on and play, an all Alkaline Trio set, whatever. I think that'd be really cool. So I'm going to take him up on that, and I give him full credit, and I won't stop there. I really And that's a threat. I will not stop there. I will definitely keep doing, guest DJs. I think that would be fun for the radio show, and I try to do that too, because I want people to check out both. I want people who listen to the radio show to listen to the podcast and vice versa. And, the fact that you can stream the WRFA and everything, I try to push that a lot because, just because you're not in Jamestown, you can still listen to it anywhere. But I'd love to do more of that on the radio show, stuff like that, like have guest DJs on and, do themes and things like that. Same like the drive-through where I do like me, myself, I do an all drive-through set for 2 hours. And then, there's an episode where like I'll have someone on, probably Zach and Kyle too. I'll probably have them on sometime soon too and let them both just whatever they want. You know what I mean? I kind of like be like free reign, be like, yo, you basically have an hour of airtime, like there, like you get the hour. Like I'm not telling you what to play. I'm not telling you what to say. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like totally up to you. So I think that's something you will start seeing in the future. And you can thank Joe Rio of Hidden in Plain View, which is awesome because Hidden in Plain View rules. Life and Dreaming, one of the best drive-through releases. And his interview, too, another one, go check it out on the podcast feed. But talking to him about Life and Dreaming was awesome. That record is so underrated. And another one, too, like I was talking about Audio Karate with not being able to really label a band. Hidden in Plain View is another where it's like, yeah, I mean, they sound, you can be like, all right, they kind of sound a little bit like this band or this band, but it's like they don't really sound like any specific band, like including on that record. And I talked to Joe about that, but it's like there's songs on there that are very heavy, that are more on the post-hardcore side. Then there's songs that sound more like kind of almost like Foo Fighters-ish, things like that. Like a couple times they almost go into like Refused territory, and I know I said post-hardcore, but of both sides of it, of the Refused side and then also of like the Senses Fail side, kind of doing a little bit of both, or the Used, like things like that. And just another amazing band who just doesn't sound a whole lot like anyone else who was around at that time. So yeah, probably have him on, like I said, maybe even just have him on for an interview too. I'd love to talk to him again. He was definitely awesome last time. So that was cool. Yeah, he just said that on Instagram, so I'll probably get back to him. It was funny too, speaking of Instagram, if you don't follow us on there, I mean, what the fuck is wrong with you? But recently I've been posting concert tickets. Not even recently, like last year I've been posting concert tickets on there on like the date. So the other day was the 10th anniversary of going to see the Take Action tour in 2011 up at Club Infinity in Williamsville, which is basically Buffalo. But Club Infinity, I don't believe is there anymore. And if they are, I think it's been years and years and years since they really did shows. I think it might just be a club and like bar. It definitely looked like, I saw a few shows there and it definitely looked like a dance club or something during the, like normally. I don't think like punk shows, like they would have them, but I think it was like a thing they did. I could be totally wrong, but I think it's something they did for like a few years, but it wasn't like the main thing that they did at Club Infinity. I think Every Time I Die might have even did one of their Christmas, one of their like holiday shows there, but I don't know. It was just whatever. It was a venue, nothing to write home about. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I went and saw the Take Action tour there in 2011, so this was a decade ago. But like this show, and I've brought it up on the podcast before, it was insane because when Bayside were playing, they were closing out with Devotion and Desire, which is like, I mean, that's they almost always do. I remember one tour they opened with it, which I thought was awesome because it's like that's always the closer, and they end up opening with it. And I forget what they closed with then. But I thought it was a cool move. But they were into like the last 30 seconds of the song, and all of a sudden the power came on, or the lights came on, and the power went off on stage. So the band, all the power went off on the band, and the house lights all came on. And then I think they came back on for like a second. Bayside came back on for like another second, and then got turned off again, and everyone got evacuated out. And what I was told was that some girl who was crowd surfing hit the barricade and like hit her neck or like something bad, like fucked herself up. And and there were ambulances there too, so that's the other thing. And I mean, got hurt bad enough where ambulances had to come get her, and they ended up canceling the rest of the show because Silverstein was the headliner, and they never made it out. And Bayside never got to play the last 30 seconds of Devotion and Desire. But I was always told, and I never knew the full story, but that's what happened. A girl during Bayside was crowd surfing, hit her head on the barricade and or her neck, and had to go to the hospital. I always heard broke her neck, but then people have told me that if you break your neck, you're basically dead. And I'd never heard that she died. So I was like, I don't know that it was really break her neck, but it was something pretty bad. But anyways, I posted this on Instagram, and then I also just threw up there. I'm like, hey, this is always what I've heard, but it's been like a decade. I would love to know the whole story about that. Because again, it had to be pretty bad that we all got evacuated. Silverstein never played. But funny enough, and I didn't even tag him in this. Silverstein I mentioned, but Shane Told, the lead singer of Silverstein, ended up throwing a comment on here, which I thought was awesome. And he told me now, right from the mouth of Shane Told of Silverstein, he told me what happened on that fateful night 10 years ago. And he said that he heard the crowd surfer went to the hospital but was fine. And he said that the reason the show got shut down was because when the paramedics came to get her, the venue was like 300% over capacity. So the fire marshal came and kicked everyone out. So, yeah, I'm thinking that the girl, which that was awesome. And shout out to Shane Told, who also does a rad podcast, actually, Lead Singer Syndrome, which I don't think really needs the plug. I think it's a pretty big podcast, but is really a great podcast. But, yeah, that really, it explained everything, too, because, I mean, she got hurt, but I don't, she didn't die or anything like that. But that would totally make sense because it was a packed show. And again, Club Infinity, I think, was more like a dance club or nightclub than it was like a punk venue. So, I don't know that they normally had that many people there. And yeah, the fire marshal apparently shut shit down, and we never got to see Silverstein, and we never got the last 30 seconds of Devotion and Desire. But that was a good show. It was Silverstein, Bayside, the Swellers, Polar Bear Club, and Texas in July. And yeah, really, really good show. And I remember before the show, Bayside and Silverstein did a meet and greet at an FYE. And I forget which mall. It might have been the Boulevard Mall in Buffalo or Williamsville. It's the one with the carousel in it. It's that mall. And I doubt that FYE is even there anymore. But I remember it's the mall with the carousel in it. So if you're from Buffalo, you know which one I'm talking about. Because there's only one mall with a fucking carousel in it in Buffalo. And probably, I was going to say anywhere, but then I remembered Mall of America probably has, I can't remember, but I want to say Mall of America definitely has a carousel somewhere. And I guess if we're being technical, I feel like most malls have that shitty little like kids carousel, like the like little 4-foot one that's like with a bunch of other, like, you throw a quarter in, it's like machine operated. I guess if you're counting that too, I feel like you see those. But yeah, you probably know what mall I'm talking about. But yeah, I went to that meet and greet. They're all very nice. And Shane really, like, he seems like a very nice dude. I mean, I've never the comment I thought was very nice because I've just been wondering for 10 years, and he put it all to rest for me. But I remember meeting him at a Warped Tour years ago for maybe 30 seconds. But he just seemed very nice. Like, I remember I was wearing a Punchline shirt, and it was at a Pittsburgh show, and he's like, oh, yeah, like, Punchline, they're from here and everything, right? And it's like, I thought it was really cool already, because it's like, I mean, they probably played with Punchline stuff too, but it's like, not even a huge band, but like, to know Punchline, know that they're from Pittsburgh and stuff. And then we talked for a second about, because they covered NoFX that day, and then they also did a NoFX cover on their Short Songs album, which I think is even if you're not a fan of Silverstein, you should go look up their Short Songs album. It's this whole album. They did half of it as original songs, and it's in the vein of just fast, like, hardcore punk of the 80s, and the second half is just covers of short songs from like the Dead Kennedys, The Promise Ring from Gob. Oh man, who else? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. There's like 12 covers on there. Really, really good stuff. Orchid, they do like an Orchid cover. They do all these Kid Dynamite. I wanted, actually, now I can't remember. Maybe not Kid Dynamite. Maybe I'm making that up. But a bunch of really rad covers. But yeah, like he's just a dude who you can tell really loves music. That's why I think his podcast is good. Is he seems like a legit music fan. And I always like those people. Sebastian Bach is like that. Like even if you're not a fan of Skid Row, like Sebastian Bach, anytime I see him talk about music, is just legitimately a fan of music, and you get so stoked hearing him talk about it. Like I love that when you hear someone so stoked on music that you get stoked about it. There's a great Amoeba Records does those What's in My Bag, and I really think Sebastian Bach has the best one, because it's like sometimes people go in there, they don't really have much energy. They're just like, whatever, this is what I grabbed. This guy, like, he's walking through, he's flipping through, he's like, I need this and like, that's the other thing too. He's like, he's a collector. He's like, I need, like, yeah, I have 5 pressings of this Kiss record, but I don't have this one, or like shit like that, where like pull the record out. It's like, well, but there's like just this one minor difference. Like, I love that stuff. I love, seeing people too who've been in the industry for decades like that, who aren't so jaded that they can't still enjoy, like, going to Amoeba Records and just dropping, $300. And, yeah. So yeah, I think that's rad with, when you see that from musicians. But, yeah, Shane seems like one of those dudes, and, the few little interactions I've had with him, he, seems very, very nice, as Canadians tend to be. Canadians are, pretty damn nice people. We've had some Canadians as guests on here, and I would say some of them are my favorite. Shout out Steve Kravick, and definitely shout out Luke Bentham of the Dirty Nil. Still number one. Fuck Art, their record Fuck Art, still my favorite of 2021 so far. I'll be doing that episode soon too. Speaking of doing solo episodes, I will have that here probably next month, because that's a 6-month mark, so we'll make it even. Right in the half of the year, I'll do the my little rundown of the best records of the year so far. But my second favorite album did actually come out this month, and I'll play you something off that here in a minute and go through some of the new records of the month. But yeah, that's just been some of the fun bullshit in, like I said, Power Chord Hour world, my world, doing Let's Chat. Shane told telling me what went down that fateful night 10 years ago. The Drive Through Records episode coming up. The top 5 Alkaline Trio songs came out last week, and my boy Moby liking my picture and all that good stuff. Another funny one actually, and then we'll get into new music and we'll get moving along here. But the greatest trade I've done. Now, Power Chord Hour stickers, I always give them out for free. I love sending them out. But I was propositioned by a follower on Instagram, and and I don't want to mislabel him a listener of the show, because maybe he's never listened to the show, but I've talked to him on Instagram. His it's like Merge5, and I might have fucked that up, but it's like Merge5. Go follow him because he's rad. But anyway, and you can find it because I tagged him on Instagram. Again, all of this whole episode of the podcast is just a ploy for me to make you follow me on Instagram. But I posted a picture of the rad package that he sent me. But anyways, he messaged me one day, right? On Jawbreaker Day, that's what it was. So it was May 4th earlier this month. Happy belated Jawbreaker Day. Like I don't know, like 3 weeks late. But it's Jawbreaker Day every day in my heart. Every day is Jawbreaker Day. And anyways, he posted a picture of I think he was playing a Jawbreaker record, and he had the album out, and he had like some Chesterfield Kings up, a couple packs of them, and I'm like, that was so rad. I was like, oh my god, like those Chesterfield Kings rule. And he hit me up and he's like, yo, like if you send me some Power Chord Hour stickers, I'll send you a couple packs of Chesterfield Kings, or I'll send you a pack of Chesterfield King. And I'm just like, oh fuck yes. So I sent him some stickers and some other Power Chord Hour goodies, and he hooked it up. An original too, like I see they started selling Chesterfield Kings again, but apparently they're not the original. It kind of like, I think like the name, they like sold the name or whatever, and it's just kind of it's basically back in name, but that's about it. But these are original, like I don't know the exact year, but they look like they're from the 50s. And he sent me 2 unopened packs of Chesterfield Kings, which I don't even smoke. But as a Jawbreaker fan, so fucking cool. And also, he sent me other couple goodies, but the other highlight of that package was a VHS, a super chunk VHS, which now I got to pull out my tape player and watch it, because that is just awesome. I didn't even know that this existed. It's from he told me he got it in 1992, which is the year I was born. And I think that was the year that the actual VHS tape came out. So I didn't even know about this live video I don't even know if it ever got released on DVD or anything. I mean, that VHS is now just like myself, nearing 29 years old. So goddamn. But yeah. Shout out to my boy. Like I said, I think it's Merge 5. I might be fucking that up because I'm just saying this off the top of my head, and I don't have Instagram in front of me. But I mean that was very awesome, trading stickers for smokes. And if you want some Power Chord Hour stickers, you don't have to trade me anything. If you want to send me free shit, I'll never say no to that. I love free shit. But if you want free shit, hit me up for some Power Chord Hour stickers, powerchordhour@gmail.com, and I would gladly send you some. I'd love to send you some. But we're almost an hour in, so I'm going to shut up about everything that isn't about new music, and we're going to get into the new releases of the month for May 2021. We had a couple good ones this month. We Were Sharks put out their new record, New Low. Useless ID put out a new kind of best of record, Most Useless Songs. The Mighty Mighty Boss Tones put out a brand new one, When God Was Great. Big City, which has some members of Rufio in it, they just put out a brand new EP, The Quest for Power. Sincere Engineer just put out a great cover of Third Eye Blind's Losing a Whole Year, and you'll have to go check it out on their social media. You have to sign up for their email or something, or follow them on Spotify. I can't remember, but do it, and you get a download of the song, and it's a solid cover. And well worth it for the 3 seconds it takes to sign up. So go check that out. Bowling for Soup put out a new single, and it is quite solid. Getting Old sucks, but everybody's doing it. Sounds just like a classic pop punk record from that, or song from them. My boy Bobby Vaughn, our guest from earlier this month, obviously put out a brand new EP, self-titled. So go check out the Bobby Vaughn EP, out now on TDR Records. Belvedere, who will play something off their new record in a second, Hindsight is a Sixth Sense. Juliana Hatfield put out a new one called Blood. Ryan Smith, who is Soul Asylum's guitarist, put out a great new single called I'm Slipping. And he did a cool little single release on Facebook Live the other night, and he played the new song and also a bunch of great covers of just all the best Twin City bands. He covered their, when I tuned in, he was covering I Will Dare, he was doing the Replacements, he's doing Husker Du, he was doing Soul Asylum, did a great job on everyone, and the Suburbs, and just a bunch of other ones too, and just really good. And his new single is really rad too, so go check that out. We'll definitely play it on the radio show coming up. Pardoner, who, like I mentioned earlier, my second favorite album of the year came out this month, and it was Pardoner. This band is amazing. I just heard them earlier this month, late last month, and this new record, Came Down Different, which I'll play something off of that in a minute here for you. So goddamn good, so amazing, and you'll hear why I love it in a second. But right now we're going to play something from Divided Heaven, who just put out their new single, The Filthy 15, and they'll kick off this little block of new music for you on the May rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast, that was Pardoner with Fuck You off their brand new record, Came Down Different. I'm telling you, besides the Dirty Nils Fuck Art, this thing is my favorite record of the year, and it is just so good. It sounds like, a lot of times sounds like indie, 90s indie rock. There's times, there's one song, Lucky Day, which sounds like the Velvet Underground and then goes into like just this like almost like Black Flag or something. And just amazing band. Definitely some Dinosaur Jr. in there, a bunch of other things. And go check out their new record, Came Down Different. I've been playing a bunch of stuff off of it on the radio show, and I love it. I love that record so much. Go check it out. I cannot say enough good things about it. Before that was Belvedere with Chromatic off their new record, Hindsight is the Sixth Sense. And they're just one of those pop punk bands who are actually good at their instruments. You know what I mean? Like, not all pop punk bands are really proficient, and Belvedere are. Belvedere actually know, like, scales and things like that. And really good band, and that's a great record. And Divided Heaven opened up that block of music, was their brand new single, The Filthy 15. So go check out all those new ones and all that new music, and go buy that single and those records. But yeah, before I let you go, we got a couple little pieces of music news here. Let me grab my, I'm so goddamn professional. Let me grab my news in front of me here. Announced, I thought this was kind of cool. Announced in a 3-word post on Facebook, you know, got to do it short and sweet, just like their music. New Jersey legends Lifetime have announced they're writing new music. That was the post, just writing new music. So, you know, really, besides one-off shows and festivals, the band have been pretty inactive here since the mid-2000s, and this would mark their first release since their self-titled full-length, which was released on Pete Wentz's label Decadence back in 2007. They were actually one of the, I don't know if people realize that, they were one of the first bands signed to Pete Wentz's label. Like, I think the first... Maybe like Fall Out Boy might have been like the first release on that label, and then like The Academy Is, and like Cobra Starship, and then Lifetime, you know, which, but not super weird. I mean, they didn't, and Panic at the Disco. I think actually Panic at the Disco was the very first release, and, you know, like Lifetime was like 3 releases later. But, you know, it really, though, wasn't, it's weird and not weird. Like, it's weird when you look at the other bands who are on the roster, but it's not weird because Pete Wentz was a huge Lifetime fan. So it's like, it totally makes sense, including if you listen to early Fall Out Boy. Like, it totally makes sense. Plus, they put out a great record. That's the other thing. It's not like because they were on Pete's label, they tried to sound like Fall Out Boy or something. Like, it's a great, like, that last Lifetime record is great, which also makes me excited for new Lifetime music now, because they've already kind of done that. They've kind of already passed that test of being broken up for a while and coming back later on and writing a good reunion record. Like, they can say they've written a good reunion record, which normally, if you do it once, I mean, it doesn't mean that, you know, it's all smooth sailing after, but what I'm saying is if you can do it once, you can probably do it again. So, like, I think a new album from them would be really good. So I'm excited for that. I mean, I know there's not a whole lot else to report on besides literally just writing new music, but that, and they have been releasing new merch lately, and I think they're doing like a whole drop, like I think almost monthly. They're doing like a different piece of merch or something. So just seeing them be more active like that makes me happy. They're another one of those bands, and so many of them that like I fell in love with during college, which for me was, you know, the 2010s, you know, like 2011 to 2016, and falling in love and discovering a lot of these bands long after they broke up. And, you know, Lifetime's one of them where I've never been able to catch them on one of their one-offs, and would love if they put out a record, because then they probably tour for it, and, you know, maybe do interviews and I could talk to them, and all that fun stuff. You know, so hopefully we hear more. You will definitely hear it from me if they announce anything coming up, because I would be a very happy boy to get a new Lifetime record. But yeah, thought I would spread the good word and the good news on that one. And another cool one going, just more New Jersey. I never even planned that. I just naturally talk about New Jersey for some reason, because it's a rad fucking place. That's why. But after a 10-year break, The Bamboozle Festival has announced that they'll be making a return in 2023, and the festival started in New Jersey back in 2003, and they're going to be celebrating that 20th anniversary back in New Jersey May 5th through the 7th, 2023, so mark those calendars. And while no lineups have been announced yet, it is safe to assume, just like all past years, it'll probably be a nice mixed bag of multiple genres like pop punk, hip-hop, classic rock, pop, and everything in between. And, I never really thought of that before, how diverse the lineups were until they kind of started announcing it for this, but really like a really nice mixed bag of different genres. And the festival originally began as the cult classic Skate and Surf Fest, which I've talked about on here which I skipped my community college graduation in 2014 to go see Midtown Reunite. But originally began as that and then evolved into the massive Bamboozle that over the years has had hundreds of performers. Everyone from Taking Back Sunday, Blink-182, Drake, to Jimmy Eat World, My Chemical Romance, Motley Crue, Fall Out Boy, Bon Jovi, Hawthorne Heights, The Movie Life, Foo Fighters, Set Your Goals, and many, many more. Just everyone under the sun, I feel like, between 2003 to 2011, the festival's run. Anyone who was a part of the scene or bigger, or even outside of it, like just big music acts, played Bamboozle, and they got a lot of them on the way up too. That's the other thing is, just getting a lot of artists like not even at their peak, like at like really kind of like having their ear to the ground almost, and like getting artists while they're on the, like when they're hot, but while they're still cool, you know what I mean? Like when there's still credibility and everything. So I'm excited about it. It's a while off, obviously. They announced it quite early, but I think that's cool. I really enjoyed Skate and Surf in 2014. It's the only one I've ever been to, and I don't know how similar it was to the original ones. I was told that the original ones, which I'm sure, there was more going on and stuff, but that one I still thought was a really fun festival and a great lineup. It was an amazing lineup when I look back at it too, seeing Midtown twice and Hidden in Plain View in the early November, and Alkaline Trio and Newfound Glory and Patent Pending and United Nations and tons of other bands I can't remember now off the top of my head. The Moms, great band. And that was a really fun one. And Bamboozle, I remember wanting to go to that really bad in 2011. Just having a great lineup and not being able to go. That's back before I had a vehicle, sadly. But I'll be excited to see what the lineup is. That's what excites me, because it's like they always had pretty solid lineups. If you go back and look up Bamboozle lineups, it's like they really do have a nice. Riot Fest is kind of like that, you know what I mean? And really, Riot Fest is kind of modern day Bamboozle, where yes, it's kind of a punk festival at heart, but it's like, it also, you will see other bands from other genres, like things where overall a festival goer will probably like 9 times out of 10 all the bands on the bill, but it isn't just one sound all day. And Bamboozle tends to be good at that. And I would love to see if they bring back the whole hoodwink thing, where bands do whole sets of just cover a whole set of covers from a different band, which the Fest does as well. The Fest does that a lot, where a band will go up and just do a whole set of covers from a certain band. Like go up and just do all Nirvana or something like that. So it would be cool to see if they bring that back. But I'm excited for that. I think that's a good thing. Anything Bamboozle or Skate and Surf related, I just feel like both of those are just classic festivals. And we're getting to a point now too. That one's a while away, but like also like live shows. I was very skeptic about them coming back and seeing people announcing things, but it does seem like shows seem to be coming back now. They're happening and stuff. So I'm just finally optimistic that it's happening, because if you go back and listen to probably even like from a few episodes ago, I was probably talking about going like, I don't know. Things are starting to get announced, but I don't know how many shows are really going to happen. But now I'm starting to be like, oh, okay, I believe it when people are announcing things. Like I do believe like Riot Fest will happen later this year, and the Fest will happen, and And I don't know with Bamboozle, maybe they're waiting because it coincides with the 20th anniversary, but they also might just be playing it safe, going like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we're not announcing it this year just to be, or even for next year to be told like, oh no, it's canceled. So that may be the other reason why they're holding off. But I'm excited to see what they do here in a few years. And one more piece of music news for you, and a very exciting one. The Descendants have announced a new record, and it was originally recorded back in 2002 with the Milo Goes to College lineup. And the new album is going to be called Ninth and Walnut, and that will be out July 23rd on Epitaph Records. And the album features Milo Ackerman, Bill Stevenson, Tony Lombardo, and the late Frank Nevada, which the three of them, minus Milo, were the original lineup of the band. And this album will feature 18 songs that were written between 1977 and 1980, and will also feature the debut Descendants songs It's a Hectic World and Ride the Wild, with Milo on vocals for the very first time. And there is a new single out right now, Baby Don't You Know, and you can go check that out, and you just got to wait a little bit longer here for the whole thing. I'm very excited for this. I love the Descendants. And it's really cool, you know what I mean? Like, I know there's a whole concept there, it's like, it's a quote-unquote new record, really, more than anything. But I don't think I'd ever heard of this. It seemed like some people were aware that they'd, like, recorded back in, like, '02, but I don't know the whole thing. Like, I don't know if this has been recorded all the way and just shelved until now. What I got out of it was mostly recorded back then, and then Milo and Bill went back now and kind of worked on things. I could be totally wrong, but that's kind of how I took it. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is from about almost 20 years ago. And then the song, and that's when they recorded a lot of this. Now the songs themselves were, recorded way back in the day. But I mean, that was the Milo Goes to College lineup. That's my favorite Descendants record. So I'm excited to hear this. I think this will be a pretty good record. That was, I think, one of the best eras of the band. I will say though, the whole lineup now, which is kind of, I feel like, the classic lineup, because it's been the same one since I've been alive. They've been that lineup with Milo, Stefan, Bill, and Carl for, I don't even know how long. But yeah, this is good news. Anytime there's talk of new Descendants, I'm always down. And I'm sure it won't be that long either until we get a new Descendants record from the current day Descendants lineup. I feel like that'll be in the mix. They seem to be pretty active lately. Even like interview-wise, like I feel like I'm seeing Bill pop up on, and Milo too, pop up more on like radio shows and podcasts and stuff. So a good sign that they're probably doing something sometime soon. They're one I'd love to see live again. They're just always fun. Anytime I've seen them live, even though, and really like the set lists stay pretty similar and everything, but it's like you're seeing the Descendants. You don't care. Like, you want to hear all those songs. Like, I don't give a fuck. Play Suburban Home again. I don't give a shit. Like, I want to hear that. Like, I want to hear Silly Girl. It's like I want to hear all these songs. So it's like, I'm cool. But yeah, always a great, great live band. They're really, like, their live show is just so tight. They're just so amazing. So they're one that I'm looking forward to whenever they tour again, which I'm sure will happen again. I'm sure once shows start coming back more, as they already have, it won't be that long before we see the Descendants. Actually, they're playing Punk Rock Bowling. What am I saying? They're playing Punk Rock Bowling whenever that is, I think, coming up. And yeah, I'm sure they'll be playing more too, like a full-fledged tour. I'm sure they might tour on this, really. I could see them touring on a Ninth and Walnut. But yeah, I'm excited to hear this. So when that comes out, I'm sure I'll play more on the radio show. You might even hear something off that on the July rundown. So a little longer, but yeah, I'm excited for that. But that is the music news, and that is the May rundown for the podcast. So that is it. If you want to stay connected with the show, give us a follow at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. I have free Power Chord Hour stickers. You don't even got to send me a pack of Chesterfields for them. I'll just send you some. So hit me up there. And, oh man, what else? Spotify playlist. Go check that out on Spotify. We put up the playlist from the radio show every week. And I also put one up for the Alkaline Trio episode. If you've not seen it yet, I put up all 15 songs from our top 5 lists. So all 3 of our top 5 lists are up there in a nice mix for you to go listen to. Very infirmary heavy, you will notice, which, there should be no guesses on our favorite Alkaline Trio record probably after that. But go check that out. And the radio show every Friday night, 10 Eastern to midnight on 107.9 WRFA. Check it out at WRFALP.com. You can stream it there as well as the WRFA iPhone app. And this week, June 4th, I will be doing an all drive-through records playlist on the radio show, so you're going to want to check that out. But yeah, until next week, for the Power Chord Hour podcast, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thanks for listening.